Today I'd like to discuss some fun ways we could use the emergency alert system tested this week, as well as some other humorous things too. Welcome to episode 23 of Alternative Jargon. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Alternative Jargon episode number 23. Good to be back. Good to be releasing on a Friday again. I finally got around to recording an episode on a Thursday. Had a few off weeks, not that anybody cares, but it's just for my own OCD. I always like to put the episodes out on a Friday so that the 10 people that listen to it will have all weekend to enjoy it. We have a lot of fun things to cover today, a lot of fun topics. I'm excited to discuss this stuff. The first thing I want to talk about is the Phillies. They are once again advancing to the NLDS, and they are once again playing the Braves in the NLDS. Very exciting. This year feels a lot different, though, than the run they had last year. I can't even call it a run yet. I mean, they just beat the Marlins. They just won the wild card. By the way, look at this. I've got the Super Tanker White Monster today. I got about 2.5 hours of sleep last night, running on fumes. I thought I had a test today at 9:30 in the morning. I showed up and I checked my email, and the test is not until next Tuesday. So I was up studying, and the little thing I put on my TV, it was a winter storm to sleep / relax to, little 8-hour winter storm. It just was not putting me to sleep. I popped a melatonin around midnight. Everything was going well. Tossed and turned, man. I'm not sure why, but I think next time I'm going to have to switch over to the rainy cabin to sleep / relax to. I guess the winter storm just wasn't doing it. It's not that time of year yet. Probably just threw off my equilibrium. I'm not ready for the snow yet, so it did make me wake up cold, though. I woke up really cold today. I think maybe that had something to do with it. I woke up and I saw the snowy cabin on my TV, and I let out a little shiver. But anyway, yeah, so going back to the Phillies, last year when they got in the playoffs, I was surprised that they even made the playoffs. They had a really talented roster. They added Castellanos last year. They added Schwarber last year. And I said, hey, this team is destined to make the playoffs. Now look at all this talent they've got. But the year started off really rough and shaky. So whenever they even made the playoffs last year, that was already a miracle. And then they win the wild card. And that was insane. And then they absolutely destroy the Braves. That was even more insane. Then they destroy the Padres. And at that point, I'm losing my mind, right? Lost the World Series in 6 games to the Astros. I can't even be mad. They got so much further than I ever thought they would. This year, the expectations are higher this year. Everyone expects Philly to make some noise. And so far, so good. They absolutely dominated the Marlins through 2 games. Kicked them out. Garrett Stubbs dropped the F-bomb in the Phillies hype video. The energy's great right now. The energy's really looking up for the Phillies, so excited to see what they can do against the Braves. I've heard a lot of people say, oh, this Braves team is not last year's Braves team. I agree, and I also agree that this year's Phillies team is not last year's Phillies team. All right, they added Trey Turner. Defensively, they're much better. I forget which stat it was, but the middle infield is way better. The outfield is amazing. They got Christian Pache. They got Rojas. Really exciting stuff defensively. And, they're still smacking home runs. They have 6 out of the 9 starters had 20 home runs this year, which is a bonkers stat. Schwarber almost hit 50 this year again, batting under 200, but who cares? So, and it's the first 90-win Phillies season since 2011. So, I'm nervous to watch them play the Braves. Don't get me wrong. I don't want to be too cocky. But also I kind of feel a little bit too good about it, which is not a good thing. As anyone who's a Philadelphia sports fan knows that anytime you feel good about something, it's not good. But I think for sure that the Phillies have the most electric playoff atmosphere, at least in all of North American sports. I'm not too familiar with stuff that goes on across the pond. There's probably some rowdy soccer stadiums over there that could probably, beat the Phillies. But I think North American, the big four sports leagues, hockey, basketball, football, baseball, I think the Phillies have the best playoff home atmosphere in all of those. If you want to debate me, you can go debate a brick wall. I am not really up for debate. I'd like you to go watch both the Rhys Hoskins home run against the Braves last year and the grand slam that Bryson Stott just hit in Game 2 against the Marlins, and then get back to me about who has the craziest fan base. I'm really not sure what it is about Philadelphia that makes them the way they are. Scientifically speaking, I'm not sure what the solution to that question is, but look, Philadelphia fans are just different people. They're crazy. They are absolutely crazy. They hate the deepest, and they also love the deepest out of any fan base. So your team is doing poor this year, they're going to let you know. But if your team's doing good that year, they're going to let you know. So it goes both ways. It's a very double-edged sword, but I wouldn't have it any other way. Growing up watching the Eagles and the Phillies, it's a great time. It's a great time. So unless you've been living under a rock, you heard about the alert sent out by the U.S. government to the whole country on their phones. And it had some people tweaking, for sure. I saw videos on TikTok of people wrapping all of their electronics in tinfoil and putting them in the microwave and stuff during the alert. If you've ever seen the movie Snowden, about Edward Snowden, hopefully you know who that is. He's the reason why we know our phones spy on us. But, he goes and he's about to share his secrets to the Guardian newspaper, and whenever they're doing that, they're like, yeah, I'm going to put my phone in the microwave so that none of the signals can possibly be picked up whenever we do this interview from Hong Kong, where I'm hiding out. People were treating it like that, okay? Edward Snowden is maybe the most famous whistleblower in the history of the United States. Like I said, he's the reason why we know everything we know about your phone listening to what you say and targeted marketing and all that junk. He's the guy you can thank for blowing that all wide open. So people were treating this like, I don't know what they expected. If you've ever seen Halloween 3 Season of the Witch, it's the one without Michael Myers where this guy sells a bunch of masks to kids and then they watch the commercial and their heads all melt. I don't know if people thought that's what would happen, but I have not seen any stories come out yet about people's heads exploding from the emergency alert test. Just interesting how, some people think. I'm not judging. I love a good conspiracy theory. People like that are what make the world fun. Can you imagine if nobody questioned anything? Whenever I see people wrapping their phones in tinfoil and putting them in the microwave because the government's going to send out a test alert, one part of me goes, wow, that person is interesting, to put it nicely. And the other part of me goes, dude, I absolutely love it. I eat it up. I eat it up like a 4-course meal. It's fun. Those people are the ones that are the most fun at parties, I bet. So, yeah, but I really think that the government could use this feature in some really fun ways for some really cool stuff. So I've got a couple ideas here. You check your phone in the morning and you check it in the morning because it woke up, because it blasted noise at you straight out of Washington, D.C., straight from the deep state. And it reads, fellow Americans, we report that Joe Biden had a successful bowel movement this morning and is now boarding Air Force One. Later on that afternoon, your phone lights up again. You jump out of your seat because you're scared. And before you can reach the Reynolds wrap and wrap it around your head and your phone, you look down at your phone and it says, "This is an emergency notification to alert the public that AOC was caught using a Zyn pouch during session in Congress today. Please vote accordingly this fall." And you go, okay, all right. No Reynolds wrap for me. I guess that one's not too bad. But, there's got to be some way that they can use this for fun. Definitely could be utilized for some good pranks, okay? And I think, the government should prank us every once in a while. They lie to us every day, but just do it something fun. Can we have something fun at least? That'd be fun. Whenever the notification went off, I was in the library studying, and it was really funny to look around the room and see everyone's phone going off at once. It was supposed to go off at 2:20 in the afternoon. Mine went off at 2:18. I think most people's did. But it was funny because everyone's went off at 2:18, and then one person, theirs went off at 2:20. I don't know if they have Boost Mobile or something, but a little bit behind. So whenever you get the alert that, hey, the bombs are dropping, yada, 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 seek shelter, there's a 1,000-foot tsunami headed right towards your neck of the woods. Make sure you're on a good network, guys. If I'm Verizon, if I'm AT&T, if I am a marketing executive at one of these big telephone companies, that's what I'm putting in my commercial. Hey, you want to get the emergency alert on time and get to a high building before the monsoon preys down on you? Switch to the fastest 5G network in the country, and then you have Shaq step out, and he's wearing the whole Verizon getup, the whole AT&T getup, whatever it may be. That's marketing. And if you don't understand that, then you don't understand marketing. You don't want to make money, okay? So I'd love to see that. I don't care about your 5G coverage. Tell me how fast I can learn about the bombs coming from Russia. That is where you'll make your sales, all right? That's where you'll get the people with the Reynolds wrap. They will no longer be afraid of the alerts. They'll be waiting on the alerts, okay? So definitely some untapped marketing there, but let's move on to the next topic. I guess the strikes are over in Hollywood. I don't know. I don't really keep up, but all I know is that late night television is returning. All right. I'm scrolling through TikTok and I see a sponsored video from Jimmy Kimmel, and he says, "Hey, I'm back on air at this date or this time." I forget when he's exactly back, but I have never consensually seen a clip of any late night TV show. Maybe Conan O'Brien. He's not doing it anymore, but maybe him. But I don't think I've ever consensually viewed or listened or seen Jimmy Kimmel or Jimmy Fallon or James Corden or any of these guys, every time I see a piece of content from them, if you can call it content, it has never once been consensual. And I think that's an issue. I think that's a big issue. I don't want to see these guys. I don't want to see them. All right? These guys are so happy that the strike is over because now they get their writers back. Because I don't know if these guys could do it without writers. I really don't know if they could. I don't know if they ever did. I don't know if they have. I don't know if they will. But they're back. They're back. So tune in, guys. Tune in. I'm not going to be tuning in, but if that's your thing, go for it. Enjoy it. Go watch one of the Jimmys. All right. Go watch one of the Jimmys. And Saturday Night Live is also returning. Apparently Pete Davidson is hosting. And, I have little to no reaction to that. Little to no reaction to that. So, I'm going to take a quick sip of Monster. So in this 10 seconds, if you'd like to grab a snack, if you'd like to use the bathroom, if you can use the bathroom in 10 seconds, that's pretty sweet. So, start your stopwatches and go. And stop. Did you make it? Hopefully. There's a pause button available if you need, but anyway, now that I've got the full 225 milligrams of caffeine pulsing through my veins, let's talk about the new Exorcist movie coming out. It'll be out the day this episode comes out. Now, the original Exorcist movie used to scare the living crap out of me. I was always too scared to watch it. If I saw even a frame from this movie, it would keep me up at night. My dad actually went to see it in the 70s when it first came out, and he always told the story about how he was so scared he had to leave the theater before the movie was even over. Sorry to throw you under the bus, Dad. I would have done the same in the 70s. This movie was groundbreaking in the 70s, came out in 73, turns 50 years old this year, hence the new one coming out. But I can't imagine, because there was nothing like that movie before it, not even close. The stuff that was done in that movie, the effects, the language used, the themes, was never really seen in any type of mainstream media ever, as far as I know. So, because the story my dad used to tell me about it, the movie always had this kind of aura around it in my head, like it was cursed, and it was like, like I said, if I saw one picture of one of the scary scenes from the movie, I would absolutely be terrified. If there was and I'd be scrolling through a YouTube comment section or something, reading the comments, and then one of the comments I would read would have a profile picture of, the movie, like a scary face from the movie. And I would make sure to never visit that particular YouTube video again. It actually really held no scary movies really scare me too much, but that one always did. So anyway, with that being said, recently I manned up and I watched the movie. I watched the movie actually by myself in the dark in my room. I manned up. I made some popcorn, movie theater butter. I drank a diet cherry Pepsi, and I watched the whole movie. And, it doesn't scare me anymore. So, conquered that fear, as embarrassing as it may have been that I let a movie scare me that much as a kid growing up. But, I got over it. And I've got to say, I understand why the movie gets so much hype. It's not just a good movie. It's not just a good horror movie in terms of being scary, but it's just a good movie. It's actually a great work of cinema, if you ask me. The way it's shot, it was way, way, way ahead of its time. I know that now you look at it and it seems like it's full of tropes, but the reason why it's full of tropes is because everything since then has tried to emulate it. So really, there are no tropes in that movie. That movie sort of built a whole genre. So really impressive. And I think that the movie still holds up in many regards. I think the effects, the makeup, the acting, the soundtrack or lack thereof, I think it all really does hold up. If you haven't seen it, I really do recommend. It's a scary movie, but it's also a really good movie. So it's not scary in a gimmicky way like most horror movies are today either. There's only a couple jump scares in the entire movie, but they're used very effectively and they're not overdone. And it's a type of scary movie that I just don't think really exists anymore. And nobody can really top it. Obviously, I haven't seen every movie to ever be made, but definitely has a million copycats out there. And of the ones I've seen, none of them are that good. So, hopefully the new one that's coming out this year can even be a fraction as good as the original. I did look up, though, I guess the critics that got to see it early, it's got a 23% on Rotten Tomatoes. And I take that with a grain of salt because the critics can sometimes heavily underrate movies that the audience scores are really good on, and vice versa. So I'm not going to judge it until the audience reviews start to roll in, and maybe not even until I see it myself. But yeah, I feel like most horror movies that come out these days, though, are very cheap, and they're not even real movies. I think most of the quote-unquote horror movies that come out today would not stand alone as good movies. They might be a scary movie to some people, but they're not good movies, if that makes sense. Now, I know most people who are going to see scary movies are not going to see an amazing work of art, a work of cinema, something that Martin Scorsese would rate 5 out of 5. I get that. But also, they just all feel very cheap. They all feel very shallow. Most of them are really low budget, so can you really blame them? And it's really hard to come up with a new original idea for something scary because it's all been done. Like everything else that's coming out today, if you have an idea you think that's unique, chances are it's probably been done. So that makes things hard. But, if I had $1 for every horror movie that has a little kid being possessed or having an imaginary friend that takes over the family, I'd be on the Forbes 30 under 30 list. I would be a billionaire. I would have a super yacht, okay? If I had $1 for every slasher movie that's only made to use as much gore as possible without actually being a good movie, I'd be boarding my yacht and embarking for wherever I wanted to. Not only would I have a yacht, I would have a chopper on the yacht. So, yeah, I guess that's the name of the game. right now. But, speaking of yachts, did you know that rich billionaires who own yachts have a quote-unquote yacht season? So what I mean by this is that all these super rich dudes that have yachts and have nothing better to do, they will all like travel in packs every year to different stops throughout the calendar year. And, they go all over the place. They go to St. Tropez, they go to Fiji, they go to everywhere around the world. It's weird. You can tell when the billionaire yachts have been around, though, because people in that area will start to disappear. Okay, if you thought Epstein's Island was the whole iceberg, you're wrong. That was the tip of the iceberg. So, if you see a yacht somewhere parked, docked, just run away. Okay, hide your kids, hide your wife, hide yourself, hide everything. Okay, if you don't, your friends and family, they might be captured and held captive on a super yacht for people with so much money that you've never even heard of them. Okay, I recently watched some YouTube videos about these people with yachts, and there's some really dark stuff that goes on. So just don't board the yacht. Gaze from afar. Maybe take a picture of the yacht, but if you're invited on board, yeah, don't do it. Don't do it. I wouldn't. Now, personally, I like to study the yacht route each year so that I can ensure that at any given point I am as geographically far away from where the billionaires are as I possibly can be. Okay. Just to ensure that I am always safe. I don't want to be captured. In fact, this whole room around me is actually a green screen. Right now I'm on a plane heading to the other side of the world. I'm heading to mainland China so that I can be geographically as far from Bezos and his buddies as I can be. Okay. It's a strategy that's worked for me so far, and if it ain't broke, don't fix it. All right. The U.S. government should use the alert system to let people know if the yachts are coming to their town so they can know, sweetheart, we've got to take the kids, we've got to go, we've got to fly cross country just for a week because the marina is going to be full that week. And, my commute to work drives right past it. I do not want to end up being sold on the dark web. Sorry, sweetie. Let's go. Let's get the kids. We can fly Spirit to save some money, but we've got to go. I'm taking a sick week off work. I'm using my only vacation days this year just to ensure that my family does not get abducted by a creepy billionaire on a yacht. But anyway, speaking of the whole green screen thing, you remember how fun it was in 2020 when, Trump would release a video and people would say that he was actually not at the White House, but that he was on Air Force One, constantly flying and being refueled by the Air Force to avoid his capture and execution by the deep state. Those were such fun times. What happened to the fun conspiracy theories? Okay, 3 years ago we had stuff like that, and now people are just grabbing the Reynolds wrap to wrap their phone when they get a text. We've really gone downhill, in all the COVID hysteria, in all of us going crazy. The one thing that was so fun was just how absolutely bonkers the conspiracy theories got. That stuff was so fun. What happened to QAnon? Just good times. Just people having fun, living in the moment. Okay, I would say not a cell phone in sight, but in 2020, I think all of our screen times were way too much, way too high. So, I remember hopping on Twitter every day, and this is before they really cracked down on all the QAnon stuff at the height of it, like summer 2020, when everyone was watching the Fall of the Cabal documentary. Okay, I would be scrolling through Twitter, and I would see stuff that was like, tomorrow at 9 a.m., Hillary Clinton will be, hung in the town square. It was just, now none of it ever happened, Tomorrow, Mike Pence will deliver the second Gettysburg Address in front of our nation. Your TV will automatically turn on and be broadcasted, and all of the elite pedophiles will be exposed. You can't write this stuff. I mean, well, you can write it because it's all fake, but I don't know what happened to those conspiracy theories, but I wish we could revive them because, man, that stuff was fun. That stuff was so fun. But, I think all the billionaire yacht stuff just proves that no matter how rich and powerful you get, there's still dumb stuff you have to do to fit in life, okay? You can be a billionaire, but if you're not, like, human trafficking in your super yacht, you're not going to be able to fit in with all the other billionaires. And you want to, because then you can combine strengths and be even more powerful, right? So, even when you're that powerful, dude, you got to fit in, which stinks. But, I'd like to think if I was a billionaire, I would neglect all this stuff and just disappear. You might catch me at a UFC event or in line at McDonald's. But besides that, I'd probably just keep it on the down low. So there's the famous debate, too. Like, is it possible to become a billionaire morally? Who knows? But I don't know. The last topic of the day I want to talk about briefly. Every week I just will scroll through certain news websites to look for fun things to talk about that are not being talked about elsewhere. And I stumbled across a video on CNN. And it's about a man who was accidentally mummified in the year 1895 in Reading, PA, not too far from where I am. So this guy was mummified on accident by a mortician over 120 years ago, and just now they have discovered his identity and they are going to hold a funeral for him. I'm not sure if any of his buddies are going to be able to make it to the funeral. Unfortunately, it's been a minute since he passed, so that's kind of sad. But the locals call him Stone Man Willie. He's been mummified at this funeral home for 120-something years. And I guess it took him that long to figure out who he was. And they're going to release his name when they put the tombstone in. So, I think we should just let the dude rest. They're really blowing this out of proportion. I'm not sure if Puxatawny Phil is going to be there. I don't know if they're going to have a ribbon cutting and groundbreaking ceremony at his gravesite or something too. This guy is probably so sick of being looked at for 120 years. He's like, dude, just put me in the freaking ground. But he looks like he's made out of wood. And this could all just be a setup, by the radical left CNN news. Maybe he's just a wooden statue. Okay, that's what the left doesn't want you to know. I did read it on CNN, so, maybe it was all a green screen. But, yeah, funny story. And they interviewed some locals about him. And the people were always like, growing up as a kid, I always used to see Stone Man Willie around, and I'd go, there he is, Mom. And this just kind of made me take a step back, and I was like, man, we love to, make fun of other cultures and stuff. You know, we'll see a weird Japanese game show or something, and we'll say, ha ha ha. And then I see this, and I just go, yeah, everyone in the world is weird. So, with that being said, guys, right at about the 35-minute mark, that's kind of been the trend recently. Little bite-sized episodes, which I enjoy making, and I also like shorter podcasts to listen to myself. So if you made it this far, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. We will see you next week. I'm going to take a little nap now and catch up on my sleep. So see you next week.